Seeing Konami as the publisher of a title in today's age is kind of startling, let alone seeing them publish a roguelike. Coupled with that astonishment, however, is delight, because GetsuFumaDen Undying Moon is a legitimately enjoyable experience so far, though there are some rather pressing concerns I have after playing for a few hours. GetsuFumaDen has players traverse several procedurally generated stages containing various loot, warp points, and mini enemies. The gameplay loop is fairly manageable to parse, with the simple objective being to progress forward while defeating bosses and collecting continuously better gear. Combat itself is fluid since the swings of each weapon feel distinct and impactful. There is also a dodge roll which is effective and gets the job done. Generally speaking, I found myself getting easily hooked on attempting playthrough after playthrough. However, some combative issues begin to rear their heads the longer you play. The most pressing issue I personally had was how the game's art style was sometimes a bit too flashy for its own good. Don't get me wrong, I find the art direction of this game to be absolutely beautiful. Still, when fighting enemies in particularly narrow passageways, it becomes needlessly strenuous to identify what exactly was going on. The visual flair from swings and other moves bleed into each other in these tight areas, making the game too embedded within its picturesque appeal instead of honing in on practicality. Additionally, I found ranged weapons to be far too broken. Bows, grenades, and other projectile attacks can eliminate foes absurdly quick. They do have recharge meters, though that caveat comes off as too light of a trade-off to make them fair. It is even humorously painless to camp on an edge and spam projectile attacks with no drawbacks whatsoever. Level design is arguably where I find the title to be at its weakest. Regardless of visual differences separating areas, those are merely superficial on their own when the stale repetitiveness of each screen is taken into account. The same ledges, crevices, and hallways quickly become familiar. There is not enough variety between each screen for the sense of progression to really pronounce itself, so that could be a game ruiner if the player is too perturbed by this facet. One last critique I'll bring up is how oddly long it takes to upgrade the protagonist and the weapons. Materials needed for upgrades are obtained from treasure chests and defeating enemies, but the excessive cost makes the act of upgrading even one trait an arduous affair. I don't mind having to grind for upgrades, it's just too severe in this case, especially from the game's very beginning. I know I painted GetsuFumaDen through a mercilessly negative lens, still I promise there's a great roguelike here, waiting to be polished under all this muddled mishaps. This game houses an unforgettable art style and classic premise, which clearly boasts a robust standout identity. The combat and mechanics need to be polished for this to be an unquestionable purchase though. As it stands, I find the price of GetsuFumaDen Undying Moon a tad too steep to recommend to any interested crowd wholeheartedly. Even so, this is an early access title, so if you are enthralled by what the game offers and are aware of its current release state, it's worth giving a try. Above all, I find it quite a joy to play, and I'm hoping for at least one of my critiques to be addressed in the future. Thank you for watching. Please read the full preview at noisypixel.net. NoisyPixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
NoisyPixel.